Hello again, my fellow pilots and my fellow aircraft maintenance personnel. Your host was Haitham Ali, and I'm an aviation technical instructor. Your host is Haitham Ali, and I'm an aviation technical instructor. Welcome to my aviation nuggets for today. Today we are going to speak about the pitot static system. Pitot static system. On the outside of the aircraft, we have pitot probe and the static port. Pitot probe and the static port. These are air data components. Air data component. Air data? What is air data? For vertical speed, for air speed, for altitude. These are air data that need the pitot static system. Need pitot and static system, pitot probe or pitot tube and the static port. Why, everybody? Because we have this data from the pressure data. What is pitot? Pitot is total pressure. Static is static pressure. Total minus static is dynamic pressure. And from the dynamic pressure, we have the air data. And we cannot calculate the dynamic data or dynamic pressure without calculating the static and the total. We can calculate the total and we can calculate the static. And from the total and the static or pitot and the static, we get dynamic data or dynamic pressure. From the dynamic pressure, we convert that into the air data like air speed, altimeter, and vertical speed. Okay, everybody? So, I need to tell you that a grounded aircraft in still air is subject to static pressure only. Static pressure only. Again, a grounded aircraft in still air is subject to static pressure only. But aircraft in flight will be subject to static pressure and dynamic pressure. So an aircraft in flight, while still subject to the static pressure, at its flight level experience also an additional pressure on the leading edge due to the resistance of the air in relation to the aircraft movement. Okay, everybody? Okay, this additional pressure is a dynamic pressure. Dynamic pressure due to aircraft motion in the air. So this additional pressure is dynamic pressure, and its value depends on the speed of the aircraft through the air. So in order to have air speed, we need to calculate dynamic pressure. In order to have air speed, we need to calculate dynamic pressure. Okay, everybody? So again, the additional pressure is dynamic pressure, and its value depends on the speed of the aircraft through the air and on the density of the air. The leading edge, therefore, encounter what is called a stagnation pressure or a total pressure. Consists of static plus dynamic pressure. Okay, everybody? So the leading edge, therefore, encounter a total pressure, which is the pitot pressure, consisting of static plus dynamic pressure. This total pressure, everybody, is also known as pitot pressure. So whenever you hear the word pitot pressure is a total pressure. Pitot pressure, everybody, is a total pressure. Okay. So if you can calculate pitot pressure, total pressure from a pitot tube, and you can calculate the static pressure from a static vent or a static port. So now you can have the dynamic pressure, and from the dynamic pressure you can have the air data like air speed. Okay, everybody, and we can convert this pressure also into air data. The altitude depends on the pressure also. Okay, everybody? So it is not easy to isolate the dynamic pressure and calculate directly the dynamic pressure. So we can calculate the dynamic pressure from having the total pressure or pitot and having the static pressure. So pitot minus static equal dynamic. So it is not possible to isolate dynamic pressure by direct measurement because it cannot be separated from the associated static pressure. You can't isolate dynamic from static. Okay, everybody? So you can't have an instrument or you can't have a sensor on board the aircraft that can only measure the dynamic pressure. So the instrument which require dynamic pressure, therefore, which is the air data, measure total pitot pressure and also static pressure, and then subtract static from pitot within the instrument to drive a dynamic pressure, Okay, everybody? So this is the pitot static system. Pitot is a total pressure. Static is a still air or ambient pressure. And if you can measure those two types of pressure, you can have the dynamic pressure, and depending on the air density, you can have like for the airspeed, Okay, everybody? So airspeed indicator, again, airspeed indicator, altimeter, and the vertical speed indicator is an air data parameters. For example, in the Airbus A320, we have ADRIO, Air Data Inertial Reference Unit. It's a computer that do have data from pitot static air data probes and convert them into electrical signal and indicate them in the cockpit for the airspeed indicator, ASI, altimeter, and the vertical speed indicator, Okay, everybody, so always remember, pitot equal static plus dynamic. So in order to have dynamic pressure, you can have pitot minus static from the pitot tube and the static port. Okay, everybody? Thank you always for your good listening. And always fly safely and maintain your aircraft very safely. From Cairo, Egypt, your host was Haytham Ali, and I'm an aviation technical instructor. Please stay tuned for upcoming sessions like these in order to facilitate and in order to have a short summary regarding aviation knowledge. Thank you and goodbye.